Hi, it's me, MC, Healthy by George. Have you ever thought about how the stress that you feel during the day may impact your cardiovascular health? Recently, I did a talk at the HIT Labs Cardiovascular Disease Summit this past Thursday. I'll put a link in the show notes. And one of the things I discussed was stress. And frankly, I think stress is something that we really all need to think more deeply about because we're having, I think, levels of stress in our country, in our world that we haven't had recently. Yes, we all have stress. It comes and goes. But I think right now we're all experiencing financial stress, security stress, situations of what's going on in the world with regards to Iran, Cuba, Venezuela, Israel, Gaza, just Ukraine. It really is so stressful in this time and day. So let's talk about how we can do things about stress because that's what's so magnificent. We can modify our behavior and help our heart health by managing our stress. So let's talk about it. It's me, MC. Very few people subscribe when they come to the channel, and I really think having a community of people who are willing to talk about aging and how we want to be the best version of ourselves as we get older, especially as we head towards our 80s and 90s. I want to be fully functional. How about you? So let's subscribe and talk about it and share one another our path, our journey. Okay? So, why do we have to think about stress and the cardiovascular disease component? Well, unlike our genetics and our aging process, stress responses and the exposures to stress can be changed. Isn't that magnificent? We can change things about how we manage stress. We can help ourselves by exercising, we can do mindfulness-based practices. Believe me, I am a big proponent of that. You can do cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a type of CBT therapy where you work towards, like I think series of things that can help you. So you identify the stresses, you work with a therapist. It's very beneficial. Yoga. Yoga is a wonderful stress reducer. Working with a social group of people that you feel secure and trustworthy with. That is immense. Is it a community of religion? Is it a community of maybe spiritual practices or meditative practice? I don't think it matters. Social support is really key to us as human beings. Sleeping better. I think that's the problem with stress and sleep. Sometimes what the problem is we're at high stress and it kind of links together with how well we're going to sleep. Maybe we get woken up in the middle of the night because something's been bothering us about what happened earlier in the day or some news that we heard earlier in the day. And, right now more than ever, things feel like they're on this edge, a stress edge. And it's not fair. It's not fair to us, but I think the key is this is always going to be what the world and our communities have to face is there's a lot of uncertainty always. There's nothing that we know definitively about what's going to happen tomorrow in anything. So if we can really find ways that we can support ourselves, reassure ourselves, find a way to empathize with how we're feeling and acknowledge it and process it. And maybe I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk today. He chooses not to focus on it. He chooses to focus on the beauty of the earth, his family, and doing the things he loves and sports. He kind of ignores the rest of the other stuff because he knows it's just going to make him feel down or stressed. I don't think that's such a bad way to go, frankly. So really figuring out ways where we can help ourselves with our stress, managing it with our better sleep, maybe by taking some kind of a supplement and like melatonin or some more magnesium, or maybe doing a mindfulness or meditative practice right before you go to bed. All of these things can contribute to reducing stress. And why is that important? Well, stress really causes our heart rate to have a problem. It causes us to feel a sense of restriction. And I think it's something where when stress is constant and our hormones are constantly spiking, it doesn't give ourselves the process of what we call rest and digest, where we can calm the nervous system down, where we can allow our parasympathetic nervous system processing be calm, restorative. And that's what the challenge is. It's like we're constantly on guard about what's happening in our world. And it's not fair to us, but we can control how we engage with this information that we're being bombarded with. So if we look at what it is that's making us feel stressful, maybe it's by reassuring ourselves that we're doing what we need to do every day for our finances, for our physical health, for our nutritional health, for our work-life balance. Maybe doing some kind of acknowledgement or mantra or meditative practice using a mantra that reassures you that you know what, you're doing everything that you have the power to control or take action for. And you're not someone who's just basically ignoring what's happening in your life that you can choose to do something about. If you've got challenges with work-life balance, look at how you can do something to modify that. Maybe you have a partner who comes in and helps you a little more frequently because things are getting a little more hectic at work. Maybe you figure out a different way of having healthy foods and buy the least expensive, maybe one of those food companies where you can give yourself at least a steady number of meals every week for a minimal price. Listen, I'm all for doing whatever we can to find balance in our lives because truthfully, that's what's going to help us reduce our stress and improve our heart health. It's an important issue. So figuring out how we can optimize ourselves. And I think the other thing is, and this is one of the things that's most important, is if we can help ourselves with our mental health in focusing on, am I doing things I love in my life? Am I showing up as a grateful person, a grateful human being about where I am in the world? Finding 3 things a day that you're grateful for, maybe when you first wake up and right before you go to bed, that you can really get in touch with that feeling of the gratitude of having lived your day with the ways that you choose to live. In the morning, that you recognize the joy of waking up and being present. And in the evening, you can recognize the blessings that you incurred, made a choice to do things that I wanted to do, and welcome in the things that I find joyful. We have to be intentional about that practice. How can you welcome in the things that gives you joy in your life? When we have the energy of joy in our lives, it changes our stress condition. If we can focus on the things that give us pleasure, give us that feeling of being loved and secure and safe, with our family that loves us, with our care partners who love us, with our friends who enjoy our company. And that's really critical. I think this past week, with all the things that are going on, I've been more intentional about reaching out to friends, to people that I really enjoy and want to get to know better. How can you reach out to someone that maybe you would like to get to know better and have coffee with them? Call them up or send them an email and say, hey, would you have some time next week and let's grab lunch or grab a coffee or take a walk? It doesn't matter. Social connections are truly key for our mental health, and our mental health plays a big role in our stress response. I would love to see you here each week because we have this one precious life. Let's live it intentionally where we can be the very best version of who we are well into our 80s and 90s because we're doing what we need to do every single day. I'll see you next week. Be well. Bye-bye. So thank you so much for joining me at Healthy by George. I hope you found the information inspiring and that it encourages you on your wellness journey. Because remember, your body, your well-being are a most precious gift, and every tiny action taken daily can make a huge difference. I hope the information here is educational purposes and is not meant to replace your medical care. See your doctor and talk about what works for you. If you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continuing creating content that inspires and empowers you to live your best life. Goodbye for now, and join me again at the next Healthy by George.